Thank you.
So that's-
That's lovely. That's like the GPS voice in your car. That says turn right.
I'll mention on the grant funding, the federal government last week finally released funds for this year on existing grant programs. But next year's grant program and the budget that was approved was cut by 90%. So probably the chance of getting a federal money is pretty much gone.
As I said, grants are getting more, funding is getting more challenging. Do you think, Andy, and you probably won't really be able to answer this until you start actually putting your numbers together. If, for example, we couldn't afford to do everything that this project plan, then would you come back to us to say, okay, we can't afford it all, what is your priority? I mean,
Yes.
is that what we'd be
I
looking
think
at?
so. Yeah.
Well, I think that might be a more hopeful to you and more reasonable time, and hope that we don't have to talk about it, but I know it does say to construct the shelter for the train next year, which I think is a long shot.
That's the big ticket item.
Yes.
So I do have an idea on that. I did talk to Mark Grable on Friday. I just get an update on the coach, and the coach is just about done. They still would very much like to do an excursion with the coach up and include us, like us. It would be for Idaho Springs. So date to be determined, probably September. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Of course, in order to get the coach and the back, we'd really like to have a shelter. And we're not in a position to build the shelter as designed. So I think and I've talked with Mark about, is what I would suggest is we consider a interim shelter, which would have like a heavy metal frame with the fabric, and we would get that to cover the train. Because if we don't do that, it's going to be a number of years, I'm afraid, before we're going to get more permanent, more expensive shelter built. So I think we should give some thought to, and I think they have one of these fabric heavy duty shelters up at Silver Dome at their location. So we might want to think about a interim shelter and see what that looks like. I can get some information. He gave me a couple of vendors that can build shelters like this. So maybe we think about moving forward with relocating the train to the east side as was planned, but not go to the extent of building the whole permanent shelter. So there's a thought, but otherwise I'm just not sure how we can. We really need a shelter, of course.
Well, of course, yeah, it needs to be protected after so much effort's been put into it. At our last meeting, when Mark and the other gentleman from the loop was here, he was talking about a custom fit
It's kind of a tarp thing.
outdoor
A wrap.
outdoor kind of material.
Yeah.
So are you proposing something different?
That's another option. The downside to that, the pros and cons to each option, is that each time we'd want to display the coach, we need to unwrap it or partially unwrap it or take the cover, and it's there's a fair amount to getting it on and off. It's a big train,
It
big.
made it sound like it was something that could open up like on this side, leaving the interstate side.
We could check into that, see if that's a
That's
possibility.
what I understood him to have been talking
Yep.
about.
So we can certainly check into that option, maybe come up with a couple different options.
But in any case, everything you're talking about is about having the coach back here in Idaho Springs, not leaving it up there.
Long term, correct. I mean, we'd like to, of course, get it back here, the sooner the better, but I think we're also committed to having it protected, having shelter.
I think either of you, seems to me, depending on what council approves and what you find the cost to be, seems to me that the two options you've just discussed would allow it to be back here.
Yes.
And that, I think to some of us, having it back in Idaho Springs, because at one time there was discussion of the loop actually using it, not just doing this one-time excursion.
Right.
But running it as part of their show for a year. And I don't believe there was ever a decision, but I happened to be at council that night. And people seemed positive about that idea. I was frankly appalled, but anyway.
I mean, maybe long enough until we can get the shelter or find a cover for it and get that all in place and then be able to receive
Now
it.
ruined.
Yeah.
Well, not ruined.
Or if they use it, they should rent it from us.
But that's key. Okay, well, then that's kind of on hold, but getting back to what that came up as part of budget,
Did they, I'm sorry, Bill.
go ahead.
Andy, when you talked to him, did he say what they're still doing? Because, back in February, they were virtually done.
I think it's still virtually done. And they're gonna be ready to do an excursion for Idaho Springs in September. I mean, they'll be ready. I don't know if it's oiling the wheels or what it is.
Yeah.
Because there's that piece of it that, it's been static for so long and they probably need to do test runs, I imagine, and that sort of thing. Make sure it's
Well,
safe.
part of it, Margaret, from what I heard Mr. Grable saying at our last meeting.
Yeah, maybe.
Some parts of it were on order, and at that point, they hadn't received them yet, and then I understand maybe some of those things have been received. But the other thing is, although they did hire a master carpenter to do a lot of the work, a lot of the work on that coach is being done by Loop staff, and Loop is in full operation now.
Well,
They
yeah.
simply don't have as much time.
Well, no, but if you remember, I had all the detail they gave me of what was outstanding.
Yes,
And that was January,
yeah, well,
or the end of December, actually. And I've got to go back, check my records, but it was like,
it didn't
it-
seem to be a whole lot. I mean,
no, it wasn't, and there was no, something maybe had to go back and come back, but I guess I have to check that. I just
Well,
am curious about that, but anyhow.
I think they really would like to get it done, but at the end of the day, it's not their top priority. Their
Well,
top
no.
priority is running that.
Well, yeah,
Tourist
I
train.
get it. I get that. The other thing is, that in researching, I saw some pictures of, well, wasn't a very full picture, but of the train station, the depot. And I think there was discussion about having that cover look perhaps like the station, original station, or am I making that up? But anyhow, I thought it would be really cool. The engineering company, home and whatever, or
The architects, yeah.
the architects. Like this company that we bought, our pergola from out front. Like they do all kinds of stuff with cedar wood, and I don't, to me, a thought would be could have that cover, doesn't have to be hermetically sealed, we're just trying to protect it. To like a nice, like we have carports, and an expansion or of that same thing without it being over $1.5 million or something. That's my feeling on that it could be made of the materials that are not so prone to decay or and high maintenance. So it sure seems to me like something like that. How's the feeling about having it look kind of like the original depot?
I
Cover.
hadn't given it that much thought. I don't think designing of it is our purview, but
Well, we can certainly give ideas. Isn't that what we were talking
Yes.
about?
but right now we're talking about the budget, so.
But that could include a more cost-effective solution for 20.
Almost everything else on this plan for next year obviously, there's the shelter for the train, and then there's everything. And most of everything else is purchase and install the signs, which we're gonna talk about yet today. Fixing the library front doors and addressing the interior on the Sixth Avenue hotel. So I guess it's very early in the plan's life to start changing it, so. I think it's understood that anything in this plan, if you can't get the money for it, of course, it can't be done. And it moves to another year, maybe the next year, and maybe the next year, and maybe the next year. Or maybe even to the next version of the plan, depending on what it is. So all that talk, did we answer your question? Okay, excellent. And now that Ed has joined us. let's
Hello.
Skip back to general updates. What has the crew been doing on these properties?
The water wheel. We had to jack that up and then get it back on its bearing straight. So that it would actually turn.
What makes it get off its bearing?
It just wear.
Clear.
One side of that axle is kind of not round. So it tends, if you watch it, it kind of goes fast and slow a little bit. And over, some time it'll kind of move that bearing around. So that, and then we gotta get up there and straighten it back out again. Relatively simple. Fix.
Was the wood refinished? Or did you just work to get it rolling?
Just work to get it rolling. Some of the wood that's on that water wheel is actually new, like pressure treated pieces of,
But to keep it.
just to keep it
looking good, it's-
working and running.
Okay,
The,
Ed, is there other work that needs to be done on the water wheel near term, or is it mainly the bearings? that needed to be-
for this year, it'll be fine.
Okay,
We do wind up going up there and like putting lights on it for Christmas. And then,
and don't forget the pumpkin.
and the pumpkin. Which, I mean, there's really no way to avoid this when we're doing the pumpkin. But literally somebody has to get into the water wheel and then walk it like a hamster. And be stringing lights up and down on that water wheel, which is quite dangerous. Maybe not so much with the pumpkin, I haven't done the pumpkin yet,
Wow.
to see how that winds up going. But there are lots of options to do a more permanent type lighting, Christmas lighting, or holiday type lighting. And I was maybe thinking about exploring one of those to see if we could put something on there that was hidden and could light the water wheel up for events or 4th of July or Christmas like we usually doing, or something like that.
I think the problem's always been, couldn't have light while it was rolling, which would prohibit having it lit on the 4th of July, but if there's a way to do that,
Right, well,
that might be cool.
these more permanent ones, they're permanently mounted to the wood. So there's really, it relieves the stress of the strings hanging off and getting wound up onto something.
Solar powered.
It's possible. I don't know how we would take to having a solar panel.
No, I mean, the lights come with a little solar thing that'll run them.
These, well,
How are they
we do
powered?
have power over there to run the other lights. These, the permanent lights come with a control box, so you can control and change the
Change the
colors of the
colors,
LEDs, and if they're doing like red, white, and blue, or green and red, or Christmas themed, or,
Yeah,
and you can, there's a whole lot of options of what you might be doing. There may be a solar option. or something that runs off 110.
What about that axle that's out of round is what you're saying, right? The
Yes.
axle. Is that something that should be permanently?
Well, I mean, we do have to get up there and do adjustments from time to time,
Mhm.
but replacing the axle would require us to pretty much take the whole
Take it all
thing
apart,
down
right?
and start over.
Not a first choice.
No,
No, but I meant, is that then just a routine, okay, we know this is, like you said, out of round of some sort, the axle, that it will require this on a annual basis or every couple of years?
probably every 2 or 3 years, that bearing will have to be moved and readjusted. So that, the
Was
wheel
it-
keep turning.
City crew that did that?
It was Bob and Scott Wallace.
Okay, he was involved, that's what I was getting at. He's still in town.
I'm glad he's still in town too.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting quite old,
Yeah.
and I'm attempting to try to find these things out so that we can pass them down to the next generation of public works dudes.
Public Works dudes, okay.
Or dudettes, they might be
As
dudettes
the
too.
case may be. The lights, that's an interesting idea. I don't, some of us may independently have opinions pro or con on that, but I think our bigger concern, we didn't know that the gear had to be adjusted. We'd never been told that, but we were concerned about the wood being treated. And sounds like that's the one thing that didn't happen. So in the past, and I know there have been pieces and parts replaced, and so maybe something different's been put in. Every other year, it had to be
Right,
completely treated, so that was one of our larger. concerns.
right, which is actually a pretty good idea to go ahead and get something on that wood so that it doesn't deteriorate
Yeah.
any further.
Exactly. So maybe if it's still.
I'll write that down, Phil, that's a good idea.
When you, hard to do while it's moving, once you have that hamster again, but, perhaps when it's shut down for the season. What else has the crew done?
We've been doing some work on the library. We got the gutters sealed up so that the water's not leaking out of them and running down the side of the building. It does seem up here that it's caused a lot of that paint to peel and chip off. I want to get someone to come in and paint that and repaint the trim on the library. You know, if you guys have some whatever input you have with painting that, probably,
Well-
I was just gonna go with same color.
It's in the plan to repaint it, and I don't see any reason to change color, although that's not really our purview, but.
Right, and then there's a potential leak from the flume on the heater at the chimney.
Yeah.
I've got a guy coming out to look at that, to see what that would exactly look like. Some kind of cover over the chimney, so that water won't continue leaking into the chimney area. I haven't heard from him yet.
Could there be a problem with the flashing around there or some? around the
It
chimney?
looks like it's coming from like the inside of the chimney.
Oh,
I don't know if that chimney's blocked or not. Is it?
Right, well, it is used for the boiler,
Well,
so the flume for the boiler goes up that chimney. And and the word is that it could potentially cause water damage on the inside. Because there's no,
We were told
It's
there
covered.
was some damage in there.
is there lining to that chimney?
I don't know. I haven't been
We
up there
might,
to look at it.
that might be something someone should check into if
Right.
it needs it.
I've got a guy that's on his way to come look at that and see what kind of things, what that would look like, a fix on that.
Andy, has anything been done about the interior wall finishes? Are we moving forward on that?
Yes.
I'm asking you because I
Yeah,
would guess
that's
that
fine.
wouldn't be Ed's to handle.
Well, we actually are gonna take care of that because it was caused by the exterior leak, so it doesn't appear, the Haynes went and took a look recently, and it doesn't appear, and according to Libby as well, it doesn't appear that there's any more moisture coming on the inside wall. So I think we're clear to go ahead and get that sanded and painted.
Right, Libby had a guy that she knew that could come and, you know, skim that wall with filler and repaint.
This is the west wall.
Right. There's a couple of different spots in there that could use a little bit of freshening up.
So that's gonna move forward then, get that painted.
As far as I know, yes, but I haven't checked on
It's
that.
going to move forward, but it isn't at present moving forward.
No, I think the thought was to wait and make sure there wasn't any more moisture in there and give it some time, but I think we're to that point where
We've been in there several times checking the moisture level. And it was good to go ahead and proceed. The last meeting I had with Libby was probably 3 weeks ago. And she said she had a guy to come and paint and fix the wall
Um,
up. And then the cemetery sign. Everyone seems to be a little bit confused on this. Mike's been doing it for us at the woodworking shop,
Oh, mhm.
and I have a drawing of what the sign, I guess everyone decided on this water wheel, or Lou decided.
Well, I didn't.
I'm just not entirely sure where we're at. Mike needs approval on, is he okay to go on the cemetery site design?
Yeah, the only thing I talked to Billy about was the space. If we should go with a brass plaque for the signage, I just needed the space on the sign with it,
Okay,
but I didn't do any of the design, no.
Well, are you asking then so that Mountain View can get to work?
Right.
Or- Let me just,
I think it's the one with the water wheel on it that allegedly is the picked.
then you were looking, if we did a brass plaque, to be able to put the plaque on this sign.
Yes,
I don't see any place. Just pass that around so everyone can
well, I
see.
mean, it would,
This is
It's
part
the
of
bottom.
the, where we have all the signs look alike, right?
This is the one out by the road, though.
yeah, what I told Billy is, I don't know how that's gonna turn out. But if we do a brass plaque, I just wanted there to be room for one. And he measured it. And we thought I haven't seen this before either, but I mean, it can go here or.
Right,
in the
there is some like some
corner.
hand drawings on that. The one with the water wheel on it, where it looks like they brought this down and Willie did say something about a brass plaque. How big is that?
I don't
We
like
haven't
the
decided yet.
Okay.
That's the point.
My-
I have a
my-
question about putting, this sign goes out on the highway.
No, it's
Oh.
by the, it's not in the, not on the.
I think it was kind of like behind the tree, wasn't
Yeah,
it, or in front of the tree?
It's over by
Why
the
would you put a
tree.
sign behind the tree? You lost.
Well, that's where the sign has always been.
Okay, but my point is, it's not,
Close to the entrance.
it's close to
It
the
is the
entrance.
entrance. Yeah.
And if you put, this has big lettering, as is appropriate. You put a brass plaque on that, people can't read it when they're driving.
Now, they
by.
would have, they
So
could
I
read
would-
it driving by, they'd have to get out and read it.
So
We haven't, I mean, we've not gotten to that discussion. I just asked that if we decided to put the sign on the
Oh,
brass
I-
plaque on there, that there would be
It
room,
would be really-
but we haven't talked about what we're putting the sign.
Well, then, since talking about the signs is next on our agenda.
Mhm.
What is the dimension on that? Is it a, I did show,
Says 11.5 feet wide,
yeah,
and by height, it looks like maybe 7 feet.
so it's not something gonna be where you can drive under it.
No, no.
It's not like a big entrance sign, yeah, okay, yeah.
Okay. I misunderstood you. I thought you were presuming that the brass plaque would be put there. And it was only if we decide to go with brass plaques.
Yeah, I was.
You thought it should be.
I'm trying to think ahead, since they're building the sign, I need to. Yeah. Because we haven't decided where to put the sign. But I wanted that to be an alternative.
Anything else you have going there?
Ed, before we move on, if I may,
Go ahead.
Ed, do we still have the old sign that was damaged? Do you know if that's? still
Allegedly, it's at
around?
the old shop.
Okay,
There's still
and
one
again-
hole there.
yeah. So this, I think, I don't know if everybody knows, but the old sign was damaged. It was, something ran into it. So it was damaged pretty severely. And the thought was whether to repair that sign, whether it's repairable, or to create a new sign. I think the direction that things were going was to build a new sign. But that hasn't been decided what that new sign would be. I'm wondering if it might be helpful for this group to see the old sign or what's left of the old sign. I mean, some have seen it, some haven't, maybe
I'm
they just need
guessing
a,
Ruth
maybe
got
got
a
a picture of it.
The old
Um,
sign.
Perfect, if you do. That might be even easier. I was gonna say maybe just have you seen the old sign?
I
Since
have
it was
seen it
damaged.
while I'm driving by on Highway 103.
But not since it was damaged.
I saw it
Okay.
when it was damaged. I didn't take a picture. It's in pieces.
Okay, it's in bad shape. Okay, so that's where we are, and I think this has been dormant for a little while, getting the sign repaired, and we'd like to get a recommendation on what to do with the sign and then get it
Yeah,
Well,
reinstalled.
yeah, and
So,
it's too bad that our cemeteries had to go without a sign as long as it did.
Yeah.
Anyway, but,
This is what it,
because we're gonna be talking next about what might go on brass plaques or
thank you for
what
showing.
else we
Oh,
want
I'm
to
sorry.
do.
I mean, I
I
remember
think we
it, but I
can
need a
combine
little
it in
refresher.
and
It's pretty simple
get back to
sign.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm okay if it were like that.
and one of the options that was passed around is simpler, as
just to duplicate, this one here just kind of duplicates what was already there, right?
Yes, that was just kind of like it, yeah.
Yep. That was my thought for getting away with the company.
Mhm.
And Lou, if you want,
Yes.
if the decision was to put the brass plaque on that entrance sign, I think we could probably find a place somewhere or adapt it.
Yeah, I
Either
just
on,
wanted
either
to
on the
make sure.
post. The other thing I was thinking about is whether you might want to have the brass plaque up maybe on the fence at the entrance there.
I thought about that, but
Or on the
it
post.
did stamp, like this year, the fence got damaged.
Okay.
Somebody ran into it. So,
What about the pavilion?
well, the problem is there's two entrances. You know, you went with me on one entrance. Sometimes people go that way, sometimes people go.
You go-
that.
go to
They
the
don't
south.
really know.
Yeah.
Cause they're just driving up into the cemetery. So my idea was if it's down there centrally located, then everybody could read it and they could choose which entrance they want to go to. Cause there's two pavilions, actually.
And one other thought I have is maybe separate from the sign, just have like a very sturdy post, like, I don't know, 8x8 or something like that. That would give plenty of backing for the metal sign, for the
For the plaque.
plaque. And just put it on a post and maybe next to the sign.
Sure.
Or maybe at the front of the sign, how the sign is perpendicular to the road, maybe have it on the end.
Whatever you guys and
Yeah,
Lou
just some
decide, we'll
ideas.
build it.
Just an idea.
If we decided you will build. Anything else?
But I guess are there any other thoughts from this group at the moment as far as what type of sign you want to move forward with? Do you want to give it some more
I
thought?
think we want to maybe include it with our next agenda item,
Okay,
signage.
Okay.
Because if we don't decide to do brass plaques, or if we decide to do some different shape or whatever, we can't make this decision until we've made that decision, so we can get back to Ed. I mean, doesn't have, I don't think it's gonna have to wait 2 months, which is our next meeting. What else, if anything?
That's the last thing that's on my list.
Okay, could somebody take an appropriate screw and a drill bit down to the Steve Canyon statue? The easiest of all the things that needs to be done, it's the easiest thing, but one of the brass plaques isn't attached on that side.
Oh,
That'd be good.
that sounds important.
That would be easy. And one you could cross off your list.
Steve Canyon plaque.
Yeah, it'd be pretty obvious. There's a hole in the plaque, and I'm sure there's a hole in the limestone behind it. Just need to put something in.
Put an anchor and a screw.
Yeah, something. Okay, well, thank you, Ed.
You're welcome. Thank you, Phyllis.
Oh, all right, we'll move on to, back in order to old business, which is the sign decisions. Idea from our last meeting was that everyone would propose wording, if any was necessary. And we would all do the same properties we had done for the plans, if we were all, or should be familiar with those properties at the time. I will tell you before we get into this, when I was talking with council the night they adopted the plan in the work session, conversation came around to what we'd be working on next, and I told them it was the signage. And that we hadn't decided what kind of signage or anything like that, but the idea of something on every one of the properties that designated it as a Idaho Springs Historic Site went over well. It was very well received. So, for example, this building already has its brass plaque. Perhaps it would need a smaller plaque mounted right above the or below, whatever, with something, whether it's the city logo, which would be a little more complicated, maybe more expensive, I don't know. Or just the words, Idaho Springs Historic Site, but something, and where you're creating a new sign on some of the properties that don't have anything right now, then it could be, it wouldn't have to be a separate piece of brass. It could be incorporated, the message could be incorporated, but there needs to be something. So, I guess there was some confusion. Margaret, of course, has the train, and that's going to be hard to design signage for until you know what kind of structure that you have to attach the signs to. Whether there are 3 posts, then you would need 3 signs, and if it's 4 posts, you might want 4 signs.
What, I know we talked about having QR codes for people to get more information.
You
Well, what I'm concerned about, and I've got to sort through this, is there's a lot of background information on both the coach and the engine that I've found. It's not probably new information for most of you, but it was new, background where they were built and all the changes of the numbering, which, where they were manufactured, I would like to know about and when. But, maybe some of the other information is not as important. So, like, if we were going to, I guess that's the question, is we have verbiage on the signs. We gotta have like what would be most important for people. And then additional information if they can. We're not doing anything like, well, a QR code where they can read more. Something like that. But I don't know where that would go.
Well, okay, again, to use this building as the example.
Yeah, yes,
There's the plaque that's out there.
right.
And let's say, for example, that we put above it something equally wide, and 3 or 4 inches tall, whatever. And it just had the designation that it was an historic site, then perhaps below, centered below that. Just on a quick search at our last meeting, I think Dylan found some that looked like grass, they were grass colored. As opposed to having one of the bright white ones, you know, with the black. So no decision was made, and it was just, like I said, he and Wonder were doing a quick search during our last meeting. So we don't. You're right, more language would be needed if we went that route, but I also think that we could, if we chose to, we could add the QR code with its contained wording later.
Did we talk about, or was there, you know, how, when you stop along different trails, not, driving along, you pull over and there's, you know, encased in glass or whatever it is, and it gives more information, you know, that you can read. Would that be something that we would consider?
Well, I think we could consider anything, but I think part of that consideration would have to be the aesthetic of it and how it would look.
Would have to be what?
The aesthetic.
Oh, absolutely.
How it would look, because when you've got something like a solid building, the hose houses, this building, it's one thing. When you're putting something, ultimately, when the structure is built for the train,
Yeah, I was gonna say
things
that's
are gonna be
probably,
a little different. Plus, these days, QR codes, that's how people get information. We want to take these historic buildings and move them into the future, I guess. Kind of splitting.
This, when you were talking about that, I was thinking, you know, if we come up with whatever, we're gonna have a little logo or whatever, so people know that it's a historic site. And then we could have the QR code with it. And those little plaques or whatever could maybe be put up earlier on a lot of, you know, we could get it going.
Well, I think we can get it going regardless. It's just, I don't know about putting, okay.
So, I mean, that's another thing we have to decide.
Yeah.
are we gonna
Where
have
we're gonna
numbers?
put
No,
those little plaques.
No, no numbers.
but I think it's important to designate the properties because the majority of the buildings downtown have the brass plaques. And this is the only one that's an historic site or facility, so. You're proposing putting, this logo or whatever, and the QR code all on the same sign, which means it wouldn't be a brass plaque.
Yeah.
Well, I don't care if it's
Yeah.
brass plaque for that, because I didn't know that we could get something that kind of looks like a brass plaque. I just envisioned that I didn't want to see like this yellow and purple thing.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Something ugly.
And I don't want it to be just black and white either.
No.
The
I'm
QR,
just-
the black QR code printed on white metal, is not the look.
Well, I don't, yeah, it's probably not a good idea to have it in the actual sign. anything like that anyway.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I
The
mean,
little-
I
I
can't
like the
visualize
separate
it.
idea.
Technology will also change.
And yeah, and the QR code will change at some point, probably referencing. So I mean, yeah, probably, I wouldn't think
That
that'd
was
be a
the
good.
whole, thing that Dylan was gonna look into was how do we do this? Tie it in with the city's website. And saying much more than that, I'm exceeding my own knowledge about QR codes. I have trouble using them.
Yeah, that's just
So-
for added information.
Yes,
I mean, it's really, that can be for any of the locations. How we do that or enhance the information. We probably should, thinking, we should probably keep that as a separate issue and focus mainly on what's gonna go on the brass or bronze
the
signs.
reason I keep talking about the plaques
Yeah,
is not because it's been decided. But that's what other historic properties have, and
Right.
several of the properties we control. Hose house, well, Central Hose House doesn't have one, the two small hose houses do, this building does.
I was told the signs on my building or the plaque may not be accurate.
Well,
You know, I don't know where they can put them in or.
I don't know about that either,
And,
but
in the packet, the last page has pictures, all the pictures that Dylan took on one page, so you can see all the signs
They're
together.
different, yeah,
you can't read them, but you can see them, anyway,
yeah, I
I
could,
guess first of
Right.
all,
got all
do we
this.
want brass plaques? Yes or no, I got it.
I like brass plaques.
Pardon?
I like.
I like black, bullet,
What she said,
yeah.
Michael, what do you think?
I think for the idea of trying to develop a consistent style of brass plaques. The brass plaque is the one that we're closest to right now. So long term, that's the least expense and gets us most quickly to everything looking the same. I do like in some locations, it may be worthwhile having something like the other sign that's at the water wheel, where we're trying to provide a lot more information. I mean, it's kind of nice to have the pictures.
Yes,
As
and they
well.
also have this big spread out area. that a
Right,
lot of
but
properties
that's what I'm saying is
don't
that in some locations, it may be nice to have something like that, including for the engine and the coach. Because that tends to be something that people have more of an interest in lingering at.
have. Well, when the final shelter is constructed, there will be a walkway. And so people can stroll and stop and read. Yes, but while we can talk about what would be on those signs, until we know the structure, we're not gonna know how many signs there's room for.
We're talking signs, not the brass plaques.
No, we're talking brass plaques,
Okay.
but
And the brass plaque is the kind of sign,
Well, right,
and being at all the locations.
so are we in agreement that we wanna do brass plaques?
I agree.
I think so, all right, so it's gonna be a brass plaque.
How big, how large? Well,
Well-
it would be vary, wouldn't it, now?
It could vary. If you have a sign this big and only this much wording, it's gonna look kind of silly.
Yeah. Actually, the one on this building is surprisingly small. I always, in my mind, thought of it as being much bigger than it is.
Well,
Yeah,
but
it
you
has a
have
lot of
to,
words.
you do have to stand there and read it.
Mhm.
Second issue, the idea of some sort of designator, whether we want to use the city seal. The wording seems to just say Idaho Springs Historic Site.
Seems adequate to me.
Well, it also seems rather plain. It's adequate, but plain. And I don't know, I haven't ordered or had anything to do with buying brass plaques in years. So I don't know, if we try to recreate the city seal, and if you're familiar with this, it's got a lot of lines. With the little minor and the little mountains and all that. I don't know if that would drive up the cost or not.
I'm sure.
Artwork is usually an extra cost.
So are we talking about whether or not to put that on the plaque?
We are talking about what we want, and then we'll talk about where to put it.
The other alternative to the logo is the city of Idaho Springs as more text.
City of Idaho Springs.
Historic site, right? So in other words, that would be an alternative to doing a logo would be adding
Two
text that
lines
says
of
that.
text. And we following that, City of Idaho Springs Historic Site.
Or just Idaho Springs Historic Site.
Well, that might still need to be 2 lines of text. We have this,
Oh my
City
goodness,
name
yeah,
that
there won't be any
isn't short and
information on
simple
there.
like Vale or Avon.
Oh, true.
Well, what do you think? Some sort of artwork? Just the wording? If the wording, what should the wording be?
I think going with wording simplifies what we're doing.
Okay. And
Instead of artwork you're talking about,
Instead of artwork.
yeah, I think
Okay.
that's gonna be,
do couple options here. On, and I keep using this building as the example, the plaque's already there. So whatever says Idaho Springs Historic Site would be a separate. For continuity, do we want to make everything a separate one? Even where we're creating a sign for the first time? Library is another one.
say, what was the question? What are you
It
trying to
was
say?
very complicated. Do we? Where there is already a sign, like on the library and on this building and the 2 little host houses. To add this designation would require a separate sign. On Powder House, use that as an example, where there's no sign. Do we want to incorporate Idaho Springs Historic Site into the one sign? Or do we want a separate sign so that they all look
Just saying,
continuity?
plus, yeah, if you do that, I mean, because otherwise you're not gonna have any room, based on what we're talking about for any of the description. I
Oh,
like
right.
the separate
There would
plaque
be
that would,
something
in
said in
addition,
having them all look the same. Whatever this little sign.
Yeah,
says.
right.
What do you think, Lou?
Well, I think that it'd be nice for all of the little signs to look the same. To
be
be
separate?
added separately,
All right, so we need,
just
there
because it'll
are,
be recognizable. When they see that little sign, they know.
yeah, that's kind of the
That's-
idea.
Idaho Springs Historic Site,
Or-
period.
Well, or probably 2 lines of text. When you look at, when we leave, look at the width of the sign out here.
Okay,
It would probably have,
Well, even, yeah, depending on. When you look across, some of them, I don't know if some of them are just bigger than others, wider, like the library or some of the. host
Yeah, they're
houses.
different
There's plenty of
sizes.
room in that width to do Idaho Springs Historic Site 4 rooms.
well, okay, but are we agreed on
Separate.
4 words, Idaho Springs Historic Site?
don't you think, no, never mind. I was gonna say, should it include what the site is, but then you're
No.
getting into custom.
And that'll be the label,
Yeah.
that'll be the
Each.
title at the top anyway.
Of the
big
big,
sign.
of the larger
Of
sign.
the, it would
So
be a
it's-
separate plaque and top, on
So
top
that
of
way,
it.
yeah, that way they can
I
all
like
be
that.
exactly the same.
And that way, if they're all the same, then
Yeah.
everybody, when they see that. they're
They
going,
know,
"That's
hey,
what
here's
that is."
another, yeah. Can we
Okay,
vote on that and just move,
Well-
agree?
I think we clearly have consensus, so.
I think,
Um,
I think I would go for including city of, and the reason being, we're only talking about city properties. there are other historic sites in town that have historic designation. So what we're doing is identifying, these are specifically city sites.
I don't think people will get that, but I understand what you're saying. You give people a lot of credit.
Yeah,
Okay. City of Idaho Springs, historic site, we've just gone to 6 words. Okay,
On the Jackson, it's on the Jackson Monument, Mount Evans Scenic and Historic Highway is one line, or byway, sorry.
yeah,
Mount
and
Evans
that's
Scenic
interesting too, since
Historic.
it's not Mount Evans.
Yeah, I would go with your point, don't bother with the city of. Because at some point that something need to be decided on all of the privately owned properties, if the city winds up wanting to have a signed program for those.
Okay, is it?
So what are we-
forward? Is
so
it
are-
I'm saying
forward?
I'm saying the 4 words.
Just
Oh.
forward.
I'm switching back. The 4 words.
don't be doing that. Can't do that in here.
Okay.
Say,
Idaho Springs.
So. How do you feel about that, Andy? Should it say city of, or just say,
I'm fine, just have it, historic site.
Because none of the rest of them say historic site.
Mhm,
They give the history of the structure.
mhm.
are they in a national registry or
Yes,
national?
state and national.
Do we need to include that?
I don't think they all are.
The area
The
is.
district is.
The historic,
everything
the
is-
downtown district is
Is,
in the national
And a
register.
lot of our properties are, while they've been locally designated, we went
Right.
through a process to locally designate every one of sites and facilities, properties, so that to make them eligible for state historic fund grants.
Okay,
But-
okay, go ahead.
So the downtown, the original, your building is part of National Historic, the powerhouse isn't.
Okay, do we have any facility that is just a facility that's designated historic,
Just facility.
national?
I'm not sure I followed the question.
Well, you're saying like the downtown, that's already
Yes.
designated. But I'm talking about one of our facilities, like the libraries at Carnegie.
But it's also within the district.
Right, but is it registered on the, like,
It's-
nationally?
It's
National.
within the district that is on the national register.
There's like several buildings on Colorado though that are outside the district.
The hose houses,
Yeah, right.
okay, the 2 little hose houses
Uh-huh.
are not
National,
national.
okay. That's what I was trying to get at,
They have
is-
local designation.
right, just
And I think they
local.
have state designation too. Anyway,
And of course, the library's got Carnegie Library designation, special.
and the word, you have to go inside to know it's at Carnegie unless you recognize the architecture. Because there's a big picture of Andrew Carnegie.
And the plaque says Carnegie Library.
That's what I was, yeah, I haven't looked at it.
It's part of the district,
Okay,
whereas the Canon, the Arastra, and the Veterans Monument are all, because they're on the grounds of the library, are within the district and have not been designated. Because the original designation was the library and its grounds. And then at some point, someone decided, oh, we should treat those 3 things separate. So there's no, at one point earlier in your
designation.
question, excuse me?
No separate designation.
Right. You asked, should we indicate the national register? And because not everything is,
yeah. Yeah,
probably not. Okay,
And
so,
that can be something on the QR code.
yes, that.
Yeah.
When we get all the brass plaques up. And we get, when research has been done, we find out more about how QR codes work. And all the techie stuff. Then we can talk about what the wording would be on the QR code for each of the individual. And they may not all read them. And when they redid water wheel, they put a lot of information. Steve Canyon statute has a lot of information. So they may decide not everything needs a QR.
George Jackson, pretty much has everything.
Yes. It has everything,
Yeah, it's all around the monument.
yes.
Yeah.
So they may not. There are what, 11 properties? Whatever,
15.
15 properties, we wouldn't need 15 QR codes. But we
Yeah.
will need 15 signs, that's brass plaques that say Idaho Springs Historic Site.
Okay, so we're doing great.
We're gonna do that.
Idaho's.
And we've agreed that
Historic
The other
sites.
information should be brass plaques. Now,
Grass.
again, we asked at the last meeting that everyone submit what they think that what we now have decided will be a brass plaque should say. And we don't have that from everyone. So do we want to put this discussion off until our next meeting, or do we want to slog through it today?
Could we go through maybe a couple of them?
We can go through the ones,
Will everybody but me?
no, because Michael needs to edit this down. He gave us this long quote from the
Basically everything that is
assessment.
historic or
And
construction.
then, and there's no way all of that needs to
Right,
be
and
on the
that's sort of
sign.
knowing what size of sign is gonna determine how much
I
texture
still
to
think
put on
there's
it.
too much.
Well, it is, but this is sort of all the text that could be edited down.
Yes, but the thing was, you were supposed to do the edit,
Mhm.
so.
Okay, so, yeah. Okay, well,
So,
I got it.
and I found some. I've got it verified, I've got conflict information like dates. That if I look in certain locations, both on the trains stuff and also the water wheel. The date on relocating the water wheel is inconsistent.
well, there's a difference between when it was relocated and when it was redone.
Well, it was redone in 88, right? That the
But
big,
it was all, I moved here in 81 and it was already moved. And
Right.
you could pull off the interstate. to look
Right.
at.
right. But anyhow,
No.
I've got a lot of information and I haven't. What do you call it? Boiled it down to what can be on a sign, so that's,
Condensed it to the,
I've got some more.
to the
work
most
to do.
cogent points. Yes.
Okay, so anyhow.
Well, okay, then, in our packet,
Yeah,
now I need.
okay.
For the hose houses, noting as we've discussed, the small hose houses have plaques and only need to have the small Idaho Springs Historic Site one added.
Where are we
Simple hose
looking? Where are we reading?
From our packet.
In the packet, okay. Got it.
As much as we can get on a plaque, well, you can make a plaque this big. and
Well,
get it
exactly,
all.
some of them have a lot of information, I think this should all fit. The other host houses have a lot of information. If anybody sees anything that seems redundant or not needed,
Well, I don't think it's about redundant, but
you want people to be, you know, to make it interesting without it being.
I don't think this would all fit on a plaque comparable to the ones on the others. If there's too many. And that's simple sizing.
I can edit it.
I can't hear what you said.
I can edit it, so and send it back.
And I can do the same thing.
And you think it needs to be pared down. I think a lot of what you have, some of what you have here, like the very first sentence,
Uh-huh.
the fire company being formed as a direct result of a particular fire, that's QR code. More than, that's not specifically that. And, also maybe for QR codes, if I recall correctly, the original Central Hotel burned.
It's in there.
That's why I'm off and on with the glasses, and I miss things.
Mhm.
Because that always cracked me up, firehouse burn, but.
Hmm,
Where did we decide we were putting the QR codes?
I'm
Yeah.
sorry,
Where did we
We
decide?
haven't.
we haven't. We're gonna deal with
That'll
that.
have to be separate, like, right,
Yeah.
I think the discussion was not to put it on the plaque.
right.
It would be something different, but it would not be garish. Like. That's why in his brief search, Dylan did find some that were kind of a brass color background. Well, then leave it. If you can edit that down, sure.
Do we have an idea of like on a large plaque, how many words or how many spaces?
Go outside and count this.
Yeah, since Dylan sent us pictures of all of them, we could count off of
Yeah.
the pictures he sent and see how many words they had and just
I
stay
guess.
in that range.
Yeah, I have to go,
If it's, if a plaque needs to be an inch longer.
it's okay.
Or 2 inches longer,
Yeah, I'm sure
I don't
the
see a problem, but a foot longer would
Yeah,
look odd.
too much. You'd have two signs, but so are we going with this rectangular, staying with the rectangular design?
I think we should. What did anyone
Yes.
think otherwise?
other- Because everything else is rectangular.
Okay,
And with the raised lettering,
Mhm.
One other thing is the color of the background, because it looks like some of the signs have a black background and others have a bronze or dark brown
I was
background.
thankful, I think in part to the southern exposure
Okay.
and the sun. And all the years since the sun was put out. Probably all, I don't remember. Do you remember?
No.
When it started, they were probably all black.
Okay,
They were all-
because both are commonly used colors when they were originally made. Both bronze and black.
And some of these are going to, I mean, Central Hose will have a southern exposure.
Mhm.
Powder House one, it's well shaded.
Mhm.
The one we put up for the Blue Ribbon Tunnel won't be really because it's under the interstate.
Mhm.
I don't know if there would be a price difference.
I think it's more a matter of just again setting what standards we want to ask
Or
for.
we want them all the same,
Uh,
but
and-
to staff, if black is more expensive than brown, we'd be happy with brown. As long as they're all brown.
And it looks like at the library where they have the three signs together, it looks like one of them's black and the other two are brown.
No, they're not all the same age. At the library. So, library. All it needs is the designating the small one. The Arastra, the Veterans Memorial, and the Cannon do not have something. So. It just seems so odd to me on something these sizes to have. The Veterans Memorial, for example. I think what's written here is sufficient, but.
I don't see what else you can. say.
So you know, that's not gonna be. I think we want a common width. But some of them might be this tall and some of them might be. I don't know. We'll have to find, we can't actually, or shouldn't, I don't think, with respect to the memorial, I don't think we should attach it to the memorial, we'll have to come up with it. Something to attach them to. Okay, so the Arastra, the memorial and the cannon do not have any signage.
Do you know how difficult it is to get large boulders, like some of the signs that exist right now are on boulders? I know boulders can be very expensive, but I'm wondering, does the city have access to get?
Find where there's a giant pile that
Yeah,
the CDOT guys.
That's
have
what
brought
it's
down.
saying.
Because in some ways, that's gonna be the easiest thing to attach it to, would be a boulder.
Right,
Because otherwise, if it's on a post, it's gonna look funny. If you've got, it's gonna look like a no parking sign, a really nice no parking sign.
right.
And so attaching to a boulder would be a good thing for sites where we don't have a building to attach to.
Would we have to pick the boulder out to have a flat spot?
That would make it easier.
Yeah,
I'm not sure a boulder
or if we're gonna be picky on the boulder.
would look appropriate in all places either. When you think about the library property, you'd have 3 boulders.
Mhm.
I'm not sure that's. I don't think it has to be, I get what you're saying about a no
Yeah.
parking sign. I don't think it needs to be on a post.
Yeah.
But I think it could be on. 6x6, something more
Right,
substantial.
some of them are like on the building too.
Well, but there's no building for the cannon, for example.
Oh, you're right.
Yes.
Is it, or like the Charlie Taylor water wheel one, isn't it on a post and it's like angled, so you can walk up and read it?
And it's different. It's not a brass sign and.
Oh,
There's one that's a brass sign, the other one's a display board.
Anyway. What,
Oh, it is, yes.
these 3 properties,
Thanks for reminding me.
the wording here is distilled down from what's in the plan. Does anyone think there should be any changes to those?
I think they look good.
So not all, we've established that not all the signs are gonna be the same size.
Well, you were talking about having consistent width and then it would vary
Then
in
The
size.
height would vary depending on, within reason, depending on what it's like.
And that's like the water wheel bronze plaque has a horizontal orientation and the rest of the bronze plaques have a vertical orientation, but they all could be the same width.
Well, I think the reason I said width was thinking about the Idaho Springs Historic Site,
Having it the
they're all
same,
gonna be the same, and
That'll
they
look
ought to
nice.
be whatever width majority of the signs are. And then you can go long or short, depending on how
so
much.
whatever that width is that we settle on or whatever, that our separate plaque that goes on all of them, we would definitely then
Yeah.
have the same. And have, maybe that would be a little more fancy,
I
you
know.
think? The, Idaho Springs Historic Site,
I think just the fact that they're designated as an historic site. Anyone walking and reading the signs on all the buildings downtown know these are historic.
a historic,
Obviously, these are old buildings. Oh, look, there's some history about it, but
And it looks like the ones that are on the buildings are approximately a foot wide.
yeah, when they go to order them, staff goes to place the
that's
order.
pretty narrow.
The one on
wait,
this
it's a
building
foot.
is actually looks like a little less than a foot.
Well, whatever the number is,
The library is about a foot.
Yes.
And the two hose house signs are both about a foot.
Okay,
So we need
back
to.
to my question, for these three properties,
Oh,
we know that the two little hose houses only need the designator. We know the library only needs the designator. There is wording provided for the Arastra,
okay,
the
that's,
Veterans Memorial, and the Canon. Does anyone have a problem with that, those wordings, or are they approved?
You're approved.
I think that's good.
Okay,
okay, well. Christian. On the Arastra, okay, we gave the definition of what an Arastra is, kind of thing. But this particular one came from a local site.
we believe it is. There's
That's
no
all we
proof.
know. That's all we know.
There's so many small mines up in the hills, it's likely that it came from one, but
We haven't been able to confirm where it came from for sure.
no,
No,
absolutely not.
Well, then maybe we shouldn't say it's believed. We should just leave it.
Because it is believed, that's a true statement. That's what
But I meant to put that in the plaque, is what I mean, kind of.
Okay,
Well,
now. Then to what we were given today, the 2 pages. Starts with
oh, okay,
Steve Canyon front flag. As Lou has said, these flags are not brass, but they are original and historic.
and they're even a little different. But it's okay.
is this what's currently on there? Is that what we're
Yeah.
saying?
Okay, I'm confused though, Lou.
Mhm.
I thought it was the back side of the statue where it was obvious there had been a plaque, but there's none there now.
I know you said that, but I went down and looked and I didn't see what you meant.
Well, there's holes.
Yeah,
But it was on the back side and you are referring to that plaque. Oh, you lost.
okay. There is one on the back, and it just says erected by people of Idaho Springs.
Okay, so all Steve needs is a separate, the
Yeah,
designated, right?
Storage site sign, yeah, I think so. I
Okay,
mean, I don't think we need any more information than,
I don't know what more we could say.
no.
I
Should
grew
those
up
be
reading
put,
Steve Canyon in the Sunday paper, but that's not important.
I know, I mean, it is. Yeah, no,
It's got it.
just, would that be mounted or on there? That the standard one that we're making? Or should it be on something? I don't know, are we gonna put it on there, on the monument?
I don't know where we would and have it look right.
it will probably have to be on a separate.
Could be on a separate, the same kind of thing that we would use for the Arastra and the memorial and the canon, whatever is decided there. Now, that's a place where a rock would look right, right next to all that big limestone.
Mhm.
But at this point, we're just talking about what the signs will say.
Yeah,
That's what we need to focus on for now. So then George Jackson needs the historic designator.
Right,
okay, so nothing there.
The cemetery, we got into quite a discussion about,
Where, but. Where,
I think it would be interesting to see if we could somehow do something like on a computer to scale, to see just how many words would fit into something a foot wide and maybe 2.5 feet tall. Both for Central Host House and for the cemetery. I don't think there's anything wrong here. I just think it may be more than,
yeah, it's not very long, really, I thought,
well, but
compared
it's,
to. the
no,
size.
it's not very long, but again, look at the pictures, as Michael said, that Dylan sent us and count the words and see
Mhm.
how it compares.
If you want a mock-up of those two signs, I can make the mock-up. I have the software.
I don't think that's. I think we need to focus on what the signs will say first of all. I think everyone can count words.
A mock-up would be nice.
Well, yeah, I mean, is that difficult for you to do?
And no, because it's, you could actually do it in Word or Excel, actually, without even having to go to a graphics program.
Right.
I have graphics programs, but,
And just put
it'd be
the,
easy to do.
just put the dimensions in.
Yeah. And
Okay.
you're able to then
That
show
would
the,
be good.
the border that goes around it, and you just decide the size and see how much text you can fit in, and you know what font size it is, which tells you how tall the letters are.
How would you determine that? Can you go out, for example, and look at the one on the outside of this building and determine what the font size is?
Well, you would take it from the overall size, you'd work backwards and get the font size by putting that much text in on each line. You would keep adjusting the size of the font until it matched what's on the existing sign.
What we should perhaps know also what's standard, like what size is, if there is such a thing. So that keeps costs down if you've got a standard size, black, width.
Well, within reason, we've already said we're gonna have a standard width. They're all gonna be
Well,
roughly
right,
12 inches, as Mike was
Well-
looking at it and eyeballing it. And the length, the
can vary.
height will vary depending
Yeah.
on,
And,
but there has to be a maximum. We don't want something 4 feet tall.
and the
No.
companies that make these signs, whether it's the one that's gonna be used, a number of them have information on their websites that'll tell you, we sell it in these standard sizes and we also do custom sizes.
So I'm just suggesting we try to stay within the
It's always gonna
Well,
be cheaper if you,
cheaper if we
if you
can.
use a standard
Standard.
size.
We need to focus on what they're going to say before we worry about any of the rest of it. What do you think of the proposed wording for the cemetery plaque? Whether it be attached to the entrance sign or placed somewhere else?
I think it's good wording, and I think it merits a lot of text.
Unless it turns out that it needs to have a sentence or something chopped, I think it's, assuming it will fit.
I think it will.
I do.
Mhm.
It looks like this is less text than some of the existing signs,
Yeah,
like the
I agree.
hose, like the Brian Hose House looks like it has a lot more text than this.
Yeah,
Okay. So,
My only question is this is the background on the old. How this came to be because of the old one. Is there anything we need to say about the current one?
this is,
Pardon?
well, it is the current one. And if you
it's
leave
about
it as-
historic sites, so telling the history of the cemetery.
So you're saying that, I think Margaret's referring to the current location, is there additional history since it got to its current location?
That's, yes.
No,
I don't think there's been any
Huh?
there's no new history since they established it
No,
up
the
there.
history started when Lou decided she'd had enough of it. She was gonna take care of the cemetery. And that's when things started getting better.
Is there a history or just a location of the two previous sites?
We only know, I mean, it's the history of Idaho Springs. We're working on the walking tour right now.
Mhm.
You know, it's things that people have said, you know, and it goes through time. You don't really know if it's accurate.
The first one was on
Everything
color.
that, all of the newspaper articles, anything like that will say that it was around 7th and High
6th and
Street.
7th, that's residential.
Mhm.
There are houses.
Well,
And so there was that cemetery. Then they moved into Chicago Creek, but it was down where it would flood. And they moved it out. Then it did flood the old cemetery, so they had to move those graves up to the new cemetery.
So that, and maybe then Margaret is saying, or would like to say that the city next purchased the piece of property on 1873. In 1873, located at which, something about it, the new current location here at, which I know that's where the sign is, so it seems redundant to me. Then you would say the current site, there's, you know, so you don't. You do start with the present Idaho Springs Cemetery site is the third location. Go ahead.
well, I was gonna say what is confusing here for someone who doesn't know all the history or any of that of it, is you talk about here, why they had to purchase the current cemetery property. But I'm kind of confused with then, you went back to 1881, a flood destroyed what was left of the Colorado Boulevard Cemetery and how it was swept down. So it would seem like that we need to probably end the description with when this one was, the current one's actually established.
Or put the text in chronological order.
Well, I guess that's what I'm saying.
The first site, the second site, and then this
Yeah,
But the
location.
second, they established the existing site before they moved from 1881.
We did,
So there was the old site and the new site.
going concurrently.
And then the flood forced them to move all those over to the new site.
And that doesn't come across in that last bit then. We don't, when did we purchase the current property?
It's 1873.
Oh, I thought that was the second site.
like I say, it's all. a
Oh,
guess.
I'm
It's all a guess, guys, you know.
Is it?
Yeah, it
A
is.
lot of it?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's what different people have written, said.
So we could be
Trying-
perpetuating, there's lots of the information just kind of,
Well, I don't think it hurts, because it is information that's pretty close to accurate.
Or as close as we can get today.
It's better than no information.
Absolutely. Just one other thought, and I know I veered us off talking about QR code. But Michael, your question or your inquiry about the previous sites. I don't know what you can put in a QR code, but I'm guessing graphics it doesn't have to be just text.
No, because it's gonna take you to a page.
So we
Just-
go
yeah,
down
just take you
between
through.
6th and 7th and get a picture of those houses, and that could be in the QR code.
Mhm.
Work there. So there's a lot of things. When the time comes that we're ready to talk about what's gonna be in the QR code for each property, then we can really, I think, expand. But for now, there is some limitation based on cost.
well, the QR code would probably just take people to our website.
Yeah.
And in
And
that you
there-
would find,
And there you could have,
and then you would
you
have,
could have a whole page for each of the properties or whatever we end up with.
I was kind of
That's not-
surprised when you Googling, whichever I was Googling. Our preservation plan and all that's out there publicly. Is that
Yeah, it
supposed to be
says
out
right in
there?
the plan that it will. Be.
Pardon?
It says right in the plan that it will be.
On the website.
And it's in the minutes and online, on the website as well for the minutes of the,
Meetings and all.
of city council, I think it's in
Did
their
you-
minutes.
Think it should be, personally?
No, I was surprised, because it's a very specific part of what information, it was a standalone.
No, that's-
And I was just,
The plan says that staff had agreed to do that, so. They did.
okay, no, I just was surprised, okay.
It's a logical thing to have on the website, just like we have the comprehensive plan for the whole city.
There might be one person a year that actually looks at it. But we've done our part,
Right,
and that's all we can do, so. At our next meeting, we will have. Wording on the powder house.
Which I'll send out well before the meeting for everyone to see.
Well, actually, it needs to go to Dylan, so it can be in the packet. And you have City Hall
Yes,
and
that's it.
just the two. Okay.
I think the other thing from the minutes, though, it talked about getting some kind of sign up real soon.
And you're gonna
Yeah,
edit
it'll
down,
take. Edit that.
and
Close.
Margaret, again, I know you're at a bit of a disadvantage because we can't know how many signs we'll have available. But I would suggest that maybe you come up with at least 3. And then if there's a 4th, it could say this.
we can always
Kind
add,
of thing.
that you're saying, well, like one for the coach, one for the engine.
Well, think
I'll
in
look at
terms of
that.
people walking down the walkway and they stop here
Yeah,
and they read the sign. Then they walk to the,
yeah,
and please do get them to Dylan. It's lovely to share it with all of us, but what matters is that it gets to Dylan so that it gets in our packet.
all right, yeah.
Now, the final thing I think, this has to do with signage, and that is the powder house. I'm sad that it's gonna take another 2 months. The whole idea of the proposed park area up there, Andy, have you or anyone had discussions with the property owners at the end of the road about moving their gate?
Not if there's been any further discussion on that.
Because that really should happen before we start really encouraging people to go up there.
Right.
Because if that gate is closed, that's gonna, we put up a sign and say historic site, and then they pull in and, well, we can't get to it. But,
We're talking about the powder house.
yeah,
Yes, okay.
we won't have the wording for a brass plaque approved for 2 months till our next meeting. But I think, and I don't know if this is for you, it's for staff, just use that generic term. However many feet before the Little Bear turnoff, we need a sign that says historical site with an arrow, so that people know they can turn in. And then perhaps something quick and dirty. I don't like using that term, but it kind of tells you where I'm headed here. Just so if people do see that sign, the directional sign, and turn up and go up there, there could be just a little, nothing to the extent that we'll end up with on the brass plaque. But some kind of sign
It says powerhouse or something.
Powerhouse, just with
And I-
powerhouses like this one were used to store explosives in the early mining days in Clear Creek County. If that's all it says. Am I making sense or am I just babbling? I don't.
So you're just talking about like a metal sign
Or
like
something,
street sign kind of thing.
something inexpensive that can be done pretty quickly. We kind of agreed. Or I took it as agreement, so please speak up if I misunderstood. The whole idea of having a park up there was contingent upon proof that people would actually drive up there and see it. And so I don't know if any of those, the rubber strips that go across the road
That count cars?
yeah.
I don't have any.
Somehow we need, before the city spends more money creating the park area, this seems reasonable to me that we need to know that people would actually go up there.
Riding through Georgetown yesterday, I noticed they have really good signage on this is going this way, this is going that way, where to find things. And I think we need to look at that across the town, but certainly like at the bottom, wherever Soda Creek is it and all that to go up, could there be something to just, in other words, historic Powder House this way, I think.
And you probably should also say 1 mile,
Yeah, I mean,
because people are, it's a very tricky site, because once you get there, you have to make a 180-degree turn. So even
I'm sorry.
one, well, it's sort of a difficult thing in terms of getting people there, because first off, you do want to tell them how far it is, because either they'll give up too soon or they'll drive too far. But then the second thing is, once you get there, you have to make a 180-degree turn. So that's the reason I included the 4 pictures of showing, it's almost like you need at least 3 signs, one on the main road, one to turn you once, and a third sign to turn you one more time, so you're now headed in the right direction.
You're right. I've always just thought in terms of Soda Creek Road, that you're right, because it's very easy to drive right past Little Bear and not even.
Yeah, and when I was trying to come up with those photos, it almost looked like it needed 4 signs to get you there.
I think we have, within our city crew, people who put up enough signs. Taken down a few, that they could probably figure it out, that they understand the point. We want people to know, but before we encourage people to go up there, I would not want them to run into a closed gate. So if you could, I don't know what you have to work out with. I don't think you'll ever find a written agreement for that fenced, that gate to be where it is. In fact, I know you won't.
Okay.
So, and then
You
something
can't see
quick,
for the
a metal
trees of the road
sign,
either.
whatever is inexpensive, just to give,
It's hard to see anything.
if someone does actually go up there, they can read, and it doesn't have to
It's
say
a shed,
You can just
tons
barely
of
see it.
information.
Like a brown
It's a
historic
shed.
sites or
End of a
something.
dirt road.
Well,
Short site ahead.
doesn't even have to, at this point, I don't think this,
1 mile.
the sign I'm thinking about, it's just, powerhouses like this were used to store explosives for mining operation. Okay? Does anyone have anything else?
oh, I've got a question. In my, what do you call it? Research. Finding information about the Blue Ribbon Tunnel and Springs is painful. So if I understood it right, people went into that tunnel to get the water. Water comes, I couldn't find anything on the springs itself and where it was located. And, well, there you go. I'm trying to figure out what that tunnel used to be, where's the Blue Ribbon Spring? That was where they went and got the water. That was
Inside
supposed
the tunnel.
inside. So people used to be able to walk down to it and then they went into that tunnel.
It was a cold water spring,
Right, okay,
which is odd, being so close to the hot water spring just up the road, but.
right. I wonder why it was named Blue Ribbon
Oh, I don't
Springs.
know, why
I might
why were a
be-
lot of the
I
mining
might be able
places
to help.
named what they were named?
Okay, over here at the historic,
I'm not.
oh,
But
okay.
I'll see what I can.
Okay, well anyhow, I tried different things, and, you know, they call this Bridal Veil Falls, but it's really not a fall, I mean, you have to redirect the water off of a, it's not a natural occurring fall.
So. We're Idaho Springs, we can call it whatever we want.
Okay. Well, I kind of was like, when I, a while back, found out that it wasn't just, and,
That it's piped
yeah, I was like. It's like,
from down.
there's no
That-
Santa.
That broke my heart. I've been driving by that for 55 years, so I learned it was piped in, like. The advertising of it all. Oh,
From down
It was
here,
like, huh?
it looks natural.
looks
Yes,
great.
it does, it
So
sure.
we don't have to tell everything.
I know, it's not, yeah, I know, but it was like an adjustment, I'm confessing.
All right, so you've adjusted. So anything
Okay,
else
well.
for, anything else for us to
Sorry.
discuss? Well, it's been an interesting almost 2 hours. Thank you all. We are adjourned at
10:55.
10:55.
You guys decide on the cemetery sign? Okay. Oh, you might have done that one. Yeah.
Okay,
Which building?
don't call us. We'll call
I'm
you.
sorry.
Okay,
Which building?
It's not like you don't have that.
Well, I
I'm
was talking
just trying to
about the
knock
tunnel,
things
the
out
Blue
that I
Ribbon.
can get done.
Oh,
and
I'm
there won't be so many things.
Which building?
No.
Oh, do I? Oh,
It's one thing. and two other
14:30.
You figure one.
Mine.
And what's-
Oh, I'm gonna
Well,
try.
especially on the
Public
building,
works
I guess,
side.
yeah.
I'm
But
gonna
that
try.
had to
I'm
come
gonna do it.
after it was built.
I'm gonna do my-
Anyway, but,
We're doing that. I'll see what-
oh, okay, well, I know, you guys are putting that together, right?
When I first got this, so
And
But,
I probably would have gotten.
you know, the signs,
Phone call from my
I,
dad.
like I said,
sometimes it's just the best
Yes.
information you
Three.
get.
Is it
I
the
gotta
same
go
price
to the
as
college.
the-
One person called.
I was gonna talk to Christine.
But everyone-
Yeah.
So
I contacted her, she plays, every weekend, has been anyway, in our place.
Go park in the
With Gary, and,
So-
so I called her
There's
last,
that.
no, of course, they
But
are
everything was
Fridays,
calmed
they
down.
don't work,
And I
or
think
no,
everyone's-
she didn't work.
Okay.
And I was asking her,
Taking
she
care of
goes, well, you know, Lou, I go, yeah.
New territory.
And it was like, I thought, well, I'm not gonna,
Probably.
didn't have to live in.
Certainly would have been that way.
Right.
Right. I'm okay with that.
Living where
I've been coming to work and doing
Yes,
things for
because
years.
it says,
I don't.
they built 1880 or something, and I tried to get information on our building, and it was probably Christine, but I didn't know her at that time.
Or.
And,
I don't
It
work
was
here.
under people.
it didn't go back, obviously, as far as the information, I was trying to look, like, where did they get the 1880 from, you know?
And not have meetings and not talk.
That's fine.
That's the word of work as a team.
I can do, I wouldn't mind doing that myself.